Hello, my name is Francisco Nunes, and I'm a senior researcher at Farnova Portugal ICOS. This presentation summarizes the results of the paper Avoiding Reactions Outside the Home: Challenges, Strategies, and Opportunities to Enhance Dining Out Experiences of People with Food Hypersensitivities. This work was motivated by the challenge of eating out with food hypersensitivities. People with these conditions face the risk of having a reaction each time they eat food that was prepared or served by other people. So when they choose where and what to eat, they may be deciding whether they will have a reaction. And while restaurants should be trained and well versed in food hypersensitivities, people often experience staff with little knowledge about their issue. In terms of technologies, we find very few support. The most relevant are restaurant recommendation platforms, but since they do not present features for these users, they fell short on their potential. All these factors make eating out hard and motivated our study to better understand people's issues. In this work, we used semi-structured interviews. We talked with 19 participants living in Portugal about their challenge, how they managed to eat out safely, and how they learned to cope. We transcribed verbatim 19 hours of recording and analyzed them with thematic analysis. We stopped the interviews once we achieved meaning saturation, and our process was bottom-up. We uncovered 6 different practices, and today we summarize 3 of them. People often learn about restaurants before going there. They searched for recommendations from friends and family. They went to websites of the restaurant and restaurant recommendation websites, looking for the menu, critics, everything that could help them get an indication that the restaurant was safe. Once people arrived at the restaurant, they behaved like detectives, scrutinizing everything around them. They looked at the hygiene. If the place was overall clean, that was a good sign. But if the waiters put their hands in the plates, that might be a danger for cross-contamination. Opening the menu, they read the ingredients that were there, and also they tried to guess what was not. Could the cooks have used stock cubes in the rice? Could the sauce contain shrimp? Does this dessert contain nuts? There were some of the questions on participants' heads. They also talked about the lessons they had from their mothers on how food was prepared and the importance that it had on avoiding reactions. After all these observations, participants inquired restaurant staff about their doubts. What was written, what was not. They asked whether specific meals had the food that they were sensitive to. And one participant said to us that she needed to be very clear about the questions. She needed to ask about milk, cream, and butter, as many people did not know what contained lactose. While doing these questions, they reassured staff that they were not trying to create problems. It was not a whim. They could suffer from eating unsafe food. By the end of this discovery process, people were usually faced with very few options. The image we have on the slide is from when Arthur went to eat out with friends, and the only thing that he could have in the restaurant was a fruit salad and a juice, while his friends were having pizza and cake. And while this was insufficient for Arthur's hunger, he did not want to risk having a reaction, so there was no other option. With this study, we learned the practical and social consequences of food hypersensitivities, which complemented more medical perspectives on symptoms, treatment, and knowledge. We also learned that the self-care of food hypersensitivities resembles chronic conditions. People also need to monitor symptoms, manage reaction or treatment. They need to deal with physical and psychological consequences, perform lifestyle changes. What is very different is how much others control the aggravation of the health. Not many chronic conditions can be strongly aggravated by the actions from others. In terms of implications for design, we would like to highlight 3. First, we need to support practical knowledge development. Our participants had in-depth knowledge about their condition and what they could do, but developing this knowledge took great time and effort. We believe that technology could better support self-experimentation, learning best practices, learning how to cope, and this would be a better start for participants. A very practical implication is to include information about hypersensitivities in restaurant recommendation platforms. Being able to say that you are allergic to nuts, that you experience X and Y reaction would be a great help for other people with similar circumstances as they are trying to understand if restaurants are safe. Finally, we believe it is important to support restaurant staff both in training as well as in having tools that support them in catering when a customer with a specific hypersensitivity arrives to their restaurant. And with this, I conclude this presentation, and I would like to thank you for the attention.